Okay, hello. So back here now today with Oscar Peña from Bogota. Hello, Oscar. So nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's very nice to talk to you, Hans. And I'm very happy to be here with all the audience.
Super nice. We had a super intense pre-discussion some weeks ago, and now we have to do something like artificial, but maybe it's not going to be artificial. Maybe we will be able to create the same curiosity and energy that we had when we discussed your ventures and also your thinking and your visions. So we'll do, because as also per your request, we are doing this as a discussion rather than you holding a lecture. But I would prefer to have kind of an uneven distribution of talking time because it's about you and about your companies, about your ideas. So in the beginning, maybe just tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. So, well, as you mentioned, I'm Colombian. I'm right now here at Bogota. I grew up here, and since I was a kid, I think I was always interested in many things, in mathematics, physics, technology, but also from my family, very interested in people. So I have always had like these two topics that I like a lot. That is like hard knowledge, but also like kind of what you will say like soft knowledge. And then when it came time to decide what to study, I realized that maybe pursuing engineering would be very interesting. I got a scholarship to go to Japan. I stayed there for 7 years. It was a very, very interesting experience. And it was especially nice because I could learn not only about like the technical details. I did robotics there. So they have a lot of knowledge and technology and researching robotics. But I also could see a very different part of like a culture that is completely different to the Latin culture. So that was very, very, how can I say, something that enriched a lot my experience studying. When I was studying there, I could have gone like the very hard tech type of research of like doing like faster CPUs or like bigger memories or something like that, which are very important technologies because we use them all the time. Actually, what's happening right now, it's amazing. I could talk a lot about like the whole internet and how everything's worked, how everything works here. But the thing is that I feel that I like to be closer to what technology, what the role technology plays in people, how to be closer to like people. So I decided to work on technology applied to medicine, specifically how to use robotics to help people restore mobility when they are disabled in their motor function. The dream would be like to have an exoskeleton, think Iron Man, but only like from the waist down, where you could just put it and a person that's been in a wheelchair suddenly can walk again. Of course, that's still an active part of research. And then after finishing my studies, well, it came time to decide now what to work on, right? And I think that's some topic that I like also to discuss with you, Hans, because I think there are many people here that they are finishing their masters, they are students, and I'm probably like sharing a bit about like this decision-making process would be interesting. But what I thought is Japan has already many things that are solved compared to Colombia. So it would make more sense to go back and let's try to do like this technology I have learned in Colombia. So I came back, and the thing is that I didn't find any job that would suit me because I wanted to continue doing this kind of research to build these prototypes. I tried to do it for some time, but it was very difficult. Building a hardware company would require a lot of funding. You need equipment, you need a lot of knowledge, you need to hire other specialists. And then after a while, what I thought was, hey, why don't I create a software company? I only need a computer. I already have a computer, and then I can build some technology that would be very cool. And that was at the point that in Colombia, even the word startup didn't like come around. And this was kind of, it's funny because I was not like, I don't know, reading about like these startups and news or something like that. But I found myself in the middle of this. So suddenly I was in the middle of building businesses and also like building technology. And from my background, I have always thought that, hey, businesses and technology, they are more like a means to an end. I think in the end, what matters is what's the value you create for society. So for me, this has been like also like some thought that has been permanent. And then, well, I started this software company. It didn't work well. I didn't know about businesses, and I'm also very happy to talk about failures. Many people in the business space, there is a lot of survival bias because you always listen what went right, but you don't listen to people who actually played the same movie and didn't go well. Yeah, like it didn't work. But the good part was that I actually met my business partners that they came from a background of business and finance. They had a lot of knowledge in things that I didn't have an idea, and we started what is right now Hogaru. That's kind of like the background. Of course, if you want, we can talk a bit more about what is Hogaru, or I don't know, where do you want the conversation to go, Hans?
Yeah, I think that would be good to talk about Hogaru, because afterwards I would love to cycle back and talk a little bit about like Japan's gamified society versus Japan's seemingly hardcore kind of work environments that are in a way, maybe you know more about that as a person who has spent time there and has lived there and learned there, and also about failures and about the stuff you did before. Let's run through the Hogaru experience just to show the audience what you have been like hands-on, what you have been designing in terms of an application and a corporation that is, because we were looking for someone from the gig economy. And then it was kind of hard to find someone from like Rappi or Uber or Lyft. Rappi, for the audience who don't know, is the Colombian food delivery, Foodora, whatever you call it, Uber Eats, company that is dominant in Colombia. But Oscar runs a company that is actually much more interesting because it's not because it's very different, but it's also could be called a company that kind of serves a market that could be called the gig economy. So maybe you can tell us how you came to the idea, where the differences are, what you are doing, and where the differences maybe are to the gig economy.
Absolutely. So yeah, Hogaru, and actually I think in the notes you can find it. You can go to hogaru.com, and if you read Spanish, maybe you can understand a bit more about that. But in the end, we are kind of like an on-demand cleaning service company. So I use this word on-demand because like Uber and all of this, they say, hey, on-demand delivery. So from the point of view of the customer, it looks like it is another startup, a marketplace where you match offer and demand. But the thing that is quite different is that, yeah, as a customer, you download an app, you pay through internet, you receive a service, then you can post a review how it went. Decided to hire directly our cleaners. So we are actually a cleaning company. We are like the traditional companies that you have a lot of cleaners. You will hire them directly, and then you will sell the cleaning service to your customers. And we did this kind of contrarian approach because like if you think about like a scalable business or something like that, you just want like to match and be a platform rather than being actually an employer of like the people who are providing the service. But this was a conscious decision, and what I want to share here is that depending on the business that you're building, it actually makes sense to make these decisions. We were called like crazy, you know, like why are you building a technology company? You are hiring all of these people that you'll need to hire more people to actually have a bigger company, you know. But the interesting thing is that if you come to think about it, and now I connect with what you mentioned, Hans, about like the story with the hypothesis about the informal markets in Colombia. We thought that through technology we could give more transparency, that we could create more meritocracy. Like in informal markets, people who provide the services, they have a lot of instability. They don't know if they're gonna have a job next day, and there are a lot of complexities around that. That could be like a full topic for a whole symposium. But the point is that we thought that with technology we could enhance this. That was the hypothesis, and we started in a very open-minded way and say, hey, why don't we have plumbers, electricians, nurses, cleaning services, like this type of job posting. It was more than Rappi or something. It was more like a job post type of board. And we realized that the pain that most people had in Colombia was about cleaning services. So we said, okay, that makes sense. And when we went to when we thought about what the customer values in the cleaning space, we realized that most of the value is not created by technology, and that's something that I'm the techie, and many people think that things are solved by building more apps and creating more software. Yes, it does play a role, but for example, who creates the most value in our business? Our cleaners. It is the person that goes to Hans' house and is a nice person and cleans and cares of how he likes his home to be organized, and that's what matters for Hans. So when you think about that, and then we talk to them and we say, hey, okay, so what are you looking for in a job? How can we help you to have a better job so that you can provide better for your family and everything? Because if you are fine, then the business will be fine, because we're sure that Hans will be fine. And then the thing is that there is a lot about like gig economy where they talk about like being your own boss and having more free time, and that might be interesting for some type of roles. But for the case and in the context of developing country in Colombia, people who do cleaning for a living, they don't want more free time or gig type of things. They want more stability. They want more money. They want to make sure that their kids have education, have healthcare, and this is provided by formal jobs, not by the informal economy they are used to be, not by, hey, I'm gonna work 2 hours today, 3 hours tomorrow. Maybe software engineers, that would be something attractive, I don't know, but that was not the case for our cleaners in Colombia. Then we decide, okay, so we're gonna hire directly our cleaners, but we will use technology so that we can actually serve well our customers. And especially before Hogaru in Colombia, there was no way of actually having a formal cleaning, professional cleaning service for your home or your small office, because of course there were like cleaning companies, traditional cleaning companies that will clean the airport. But these cleaning companies, they will work with supervisors. They will sell to one customer, the airport, hundreds of cleaners and tens of supervisors. But if you have just a home, or if you have a small business, let's say you're a dental office, and you want to comply with the law and everything and have a professional cleaning service, you cannot hire, you cannot ask somebody to come and then have also a supervisor. It would be extremely expensive. Maybe you only need on Mondays that they come and that they'll help you, but the rest of the days you don't need it. So what we did through technology is that we could hire the cleaner full time, but then we could split and with the demand, so that one cleaner goes first to Hans, and then on Thursday in the afternoon goes to another customer, and provide stability to their finance, but then also flexibility to the customer. And this created actually a new market in the case of Colombia, because there was no option. Suddenly we have a lot of small businesses that say, hey, yeah, I want that. I want to have one per day, one day per week of a formal cleaning services. And I love the fact that you have the invoices, and you're a formal business, you know. So that's kind of what happened, and that's why like I had this during this discussion, like the topic is creating good jobs through technology. Yes, you can provide good jobs through technology, but you need to actively think about that. What I wanted to also tell you is that it makes sense to think in the fundamentals of the business. We are providing a service that is much more expensive than the alternative. We are competing with the informal market. Of course, if you care only about price point, they won't be our customers. We know that we only serve people that actually care for a formal service. They would care also for the cleaners. We had a price point that made us profitable because each cleaning service that we sold, we price it correctly, so that we could like make a company that would be sustainable. Doing this, the funny thing is that with very small amount of funding compared like for the tech standards and everything, we actually became one of the biggest startups in the cleaning sector, doing things like in the non-scalable way. I'm saying one of the biggest by volumes, because of course by revenues, if you compare like how much is the cleaning service in Colombia and you pass it to US dollars, we will be much more smaller. But the point is that we have created more than 4,000 formal jobs to the base of the pyramid. 95% of our employees are single mothers in the base of the pyramid of Colombia, and these do changes like their dynamics. Their kids can have better conditions. They automatically they belong to the healthcare system once their mother enters like the formal market. They can have better education, and that's something we're quite proud of it. So technology does play a role, but we have been thinking about first our employees and our customers, and that way as owners we also like reap like the benefits. Yeah.
So basically,
Mm-hmm.
So basically what you're telling us is this is really, it seems so simple, but it's actually really revolutionary, because you're using, and that's exactly, when I understand right, that's actually where you come from. That's why you love technology. And I think we have a similar understanding there, because I also fucking love technology for this reason. There is many downsides and there's many problems involved. But this is in a way beautiful, because it allows a market to be opened and served that just wasn't possible before, because you had to buy black money work, or you couldn't afford it. So basically you had to go into the informal sector. And the problem with the informal sector, and that just to clarify and make it very, very clear, because we tend to forget, it's withholding taxes. It's withholding it, and especially in a situation, for example, like in Colombia, where the government needs the money. Yeah, doesn't matter what you think about the government right now, the parties and the corruption and all this shit, but the government needs the money in order to operate, in order to create a better society in education, in health services, etc., through taxes. And if it's structurally not possible to do that, so people are forced to go into the informal market. That is a big problem. You already gave us some numbers. So you said 95% are single mothers, 100% are women, you told me. There is not one single man in your... This is remarkable. Am I right in the number that you employ 1,000 people you have on your payroll?
Yeah, well, right now, that was before COVID. We actually were hit very hard through COVID. But right now we are at around 600 people total. But we were like around 1,000 people before. Yeah.
Okay. Would you be willing to share any kind of financial data? Could you tell us turnover or earnings per person or stuff like that? Any number would be very interesting.
What I think that it's interesting is that traditional cleaning companies in Colombia, and I think like most places in the world, they have a margin of about like 10%. When you see this is like the gross margin, of course. Like after that, you have administrative and all of these costs. But do what we created with this new market, where we can sell like smaller slots of cleaning, we actually became around like 22% gross margin company. So it's twice what companies did before, and that allows us, of course, like to reinvest a lot, like in benefits for the cleaners, technology, and grow more. Of course, we have like more complex operations than a traditional cleaning company, but that's where also we use technology to automate what makes sense to automate.
So, and you just mentioned now, so a part goes into reinvestment of technology, and you also probably have to, you initially invest a lot of time and energy and money into the system and into trial and error. So you have to cover some of these kind of losses or investments. Makes sense. But let's look at the other part. You said that you also can basically that you can invest into the people you have. So you pay them health insurance because they're employed by law. You have to pay health insurance. You have to, when they're sick, you have to pay them sick leave and stuff like that for the times. Now, because this symposium is about gamification and play, I would really like to hear your take on, is it ethically okay to talk about play and gamification in the context of literally very hard labor that your personnel is doing, that are working in the houses and in the doctor's offices, etc. And if yes, what kind of gamification methods do you see, or what kind of gamification do you actually use, and in general, then also, what do you think about gamification, like ethically? But that's the second question, as a concept of work optimization or workflow optimization and motivation and reward systems. Because you can see it from different points of view. You can say it's a simple manipulation, or you can say no, it makes life different. It makes life more playful. It adds basically a value to the work.
Yeah, I think what how can I say, like, well, I'm gonna actually separate the answer in two parts. There is one part that up to a point, like every organization does have like some conditions of like gamification, let's say. What I mean with that is that what is the culture of an organization? It's in the end the type of behaviors that are rejected, and the type of behaviors that are good for that organization. You know, even if you don't have a scorecard with numbers and things, the way we cooperate on a scale in the real world does have like these kind of rules. You know, you need to know what your boss likes. Your company in the end needs to serve some customers, and so I think it's important to think that at any point, in speaking of a business, the culture that you create somehow has like some components of gamification. And what's important is to align right these incentives, so that you make sure that the people who actually make the effort, make the decisions that make sense for your customers are rewarded, and the behaviors that are not good are punished. And what I mean with this is that let's say I do think a lot about like ethics, and how it's important that people have the same opportunities. But then if we have free will, people make different decisions, and therefore like outcomes might be different. So setting these type of rules, somehow it's a game, you know. In our case, we do use gamification as an organization, as also in the technology part. We inserted like some gamified aspects in the app. and it did make sense, in the sense that we have like some incredible cleaners that I'm actually like amazed, like how they perform their job every day, and they get on time, they really like their job, they care about their customers, you know. But then we have had cases that we have hired people that they were trying to trick the system, and I'm also like that does happen. We do a very strict selection process, but sometimes like, yeah, there are some people that they don't want to go there. They don't want to perform well the job, you know, and that's very bad for everybody. It's bad for them, it's bad for the business, it's bad for the customers, and if that continues, like then you can actually destroy a company, you know, in the sense that if in the end the company doesn't provide a good service, well yeah, like markets will say, I don't need you, which makes sense. So in that sense, yeah, I think it's important to set the right incentives, and I think that something that is connected to that is the why. If you explain, if you just create a game and put these numbers and this scorecard, it is very easy to actually maybe create wrong incentives, or people don't really caring about that. But if you actually have a why and you tell them, and I can give a couple of examples, hey, you know, we are creating this game so that if you show up on time every day, you'll get these points, because, and this is the important part, Hans has a full-time job, and Hans has to leave his home at 8 a.m. So if you don't arrive on time, he cannot go there. And if he cannot go there, he'll have like a difficult day, and then he won't hire us. If he won't hire us, you won't have a job, because like the company won't provide that. So if you actually explain the why, I think it's very easy to actually make everybody in the organization actively think of like even changing the rules, like even saying, hey, you know what, even nobody told me that this is supposed to be like that, but I suggest you to improve things in this way. Customers care about this. So in the end, it's about caring, you know, like caring about the community you serve, your customers, your employees, and not faking it. That being said, we actually implemented the game. It was a very interesting game. It's called Kibaru. This is a play between Hogaru and a word in Japanese that is Kibo. Kibo means hope. So we're bringing this game to bring hope to people, and they will gather these kibos, like these little hopes, by doing well their job. So showing on time, having a great review, and like going every day and to provide the cleaning services. And also by playing a game that was a trivia type of game, where we train them and retrain them about cleaning things, about technical things, because what I like to say is that, at least in Colombia, before us, cleaning services didn't seem like a profession, but it is a profession. There are professional cleaning services. You need knowledge to actually clean properly things. So we train them through the app, and through the app they will also get kibos. We also made like some play around there, like some general knowledge about Colombia and these things. And this game actually worked very well. It is completely voluntary. People didn't need to play, and with the kibos, they could participate like in some prizes. Like some of them, they went for first time to go to the sea. Bogota is like in the center of Colombia, so many people have like this dream of like knowing how is the sea, and we provided this type of prizes. Things about like the World Cup T-shirts, so the things that they won't buy by themselves, but we gave all of these prizes. But in the end, yeah, like we created this game that the business to perform better. But I do think that for the cleaners, they did better. They had some fun, and yeah, it worked well. About, just to give you like some numbers, we had an usage of about 60% of our cleaners. So yes, there were some people that say, hey, I don't like this game, this specific Kibaru game. Okay, don't play it. It's fine. But yeah, most of people actually liked it.
So just a quick coming back to what you said, that you have like people using a lot of people are kind of conforming with the system. They probably also like the structure. It's kind of simple. You get the timesheet, you know where to go, you know what to do, you know how to behave. Then you know that if the client behaves in this way, then it's okay. If the client doesn't behave that way, you can call someone, a supervisor, and So it's kind of a structured and kind of safe environment. So for me, it's similar to our society where we have strict rule sets, and then we have some people. We call them criminals or however you want to call them. But my belief is that that a free and open society needs to be able to absorb people who do not accept or respect the system. Yeah, and still this kind of society will stay on course without having to be too brutal to people who are not following the rules. That was just coming back to something you said. Another thing is about the reviews, because reviews can be very tricky to deal with, because they can put a lot of pressure on people, right? And it's not that in my thinking, the problem is they can kind of harm relationships. If I think about an Uber driver gets reviewed, but in the other way around, or on Airbnb, it's a game that goes into both directions. As a customer, you can also be reviewed. So in the end, it's kind of a dystopian kind of relationship that where you cannot act normally anymore. Now you can say, okay, in society we have a lot of rule sets, so you don't act normal with anybody because everything is according to rules. So this is not that much of a criticism, but it's just something I wanted to say because sometimes it's good to use the wording not in a too political correct way, or not trying to hide things that you're doing. And I think it's very interesting how you do that. You don't hide the stuff you're doing. You're talking very straight about it. And then if you see a problem, that's, as I understood, when you see a problem, react on it. If you want to answer to these points, please do. I just have one question, because the last time you told me that overnight all the calculations happen. And I find this a very nice thing, because I come originally from logistics, and I know what that means, because you have kind of a lot of things happening during the day. It's basically daily operation. So you're trying to manage the daily operation. And then you get all the orders for the next day. You get all the availabilities from the cleaners. They have deadlines where they know they have to bring in their stuff. What happens at night? Please tell us.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, like just commenting a bit on the first part of the reviews. Yeah, like these systems, every system has flaws, and I think it's part of like learning and understanding where they perform well, and actually being like have a critical thinking about like, well, if they fail or if they are not appropriate, like stop using them. This comes because like if somehow you don't put like these reviews, it is kind of easy, like in I don't know, in a network, that maybe somebody will try like to explode the system. Usually, but by the way, like we humans are like evolutionary wired to cooperate, so most of humans actually we are trusty, like it is true that not everybody works like that way. But generally speaking, one of like the big advantages that we have had is that we have been able to cooperate at an incredible scale, and this comes in the end because there is trust between like ourselves. You don't need like so hard things to trust that the food that you buy in the supermarket is not poisoned. Like the default is that you need trust in society, because if not, you're going to go absolutely crazy. But there are some parts that where not trustworthy individual can create a lot of damage, and it is a way like to protect that. But these systems can be wrong and have been wrong in many cases. So that's why like only hard data to measure things doesn't play well. And to tell you also another thing, like coming from the mathematics, we have tried to like do this analysis, like do reviews work or not. And particularly in the case of Hogaru, and this might be just like Colombian culture, we actually have skewed reviews towards everything being good. Why? Because by culture, many people don't like to say when things don't go well, because they think that if they put a bad review, a cleaner will be fired, which is not true. We actually had to make a communication campaign that, hey, generally, please tell us when something goes wrong, because we want to provide a good service. And yeah, we will retrain the cleaner. We will help her to be better. We don't want to fire them, you know? So we had this case where we didn't had bad reviews in our culture. Might be different in different things. But you have a very good point, and is these numbers not every time work well, especially if you're speaking about people. People are complex. There are backgrounds. There might be days where you had a terrible day and you cannot just judge immediately and say, hey, that's it, you know? We have had cases, and actually you need to see like more trends. If you have someone who has been always like reliable and suddenly has a bad day, okay, something happened. It's not that suddenly they are bad or good. That on the first part. On the second part of the question about like what happens overnight, and this is again where you use technology where it can add value, really, and it is interesting because there are ways where you can match the schedule of the cleaners, who goes where. We have shifts where in Colombia, like we can sell 4-hour length cleanings or 8-hour length cleanings. So you can have a cleaner that goes in the morning to hands and then in the afternoon to another customer. Let's say Jacob, who is also here in the symposium. It's better if I choose one cleaner that goes to hands and then to Jacob if both of you live close. If you live far away, it might make more sense to send someone to hands and a different cleaner that lives closer to Jacob. So there is a model that you can actually run, and depending on the order and the way you match the shifts, you can reduce a lot of hours that cleaners will spend inside the public transportation system. It's a win-win. Nobody's losing there, you know. Like but if you just do it randomly, suddenly you have people that are doing a trip that is completely unnecessary. So these are places where you can say, hey, yeah, like before technology, you had this, and after running these algorithms, you get a better match. And this happens at 3 a.m. in the morning, so that like the servers are working. All of us were sleeping. We only operate in Colombia, so we only have this time zone. But while we are sleeping, one part of the company is working to help us be better. Why we do this? Because actually we ask the cleaners, hey, what do you want to improve in your job? And they said, I don't want to spend lots of time in the transportation. Great. I want to go to the same customers because I don't want to be searching for new addresses. Great. And this is what we put in the algorithms, you know? So yeah, that's kind of like the second question of the overnight.
Wonderful. Oscar, thank you so much. We have to come to an end. It's so fast. I have a few more questions, but I will put them back because for the audience, we're going to make 2-3 minutes or maybe max 5 minutes break. And then we come back with Bien and with Oscar and we will be able to discuss in a bigger round with Sam and me as well. We noted down the questions from the chat. If there are more questions, put them down. We can answer them, and then we're gonna do, I would say, 25 minutes. I don't want it to go too long, like 25 minutes. We're gonna talk in the group, and then the first day of the symposium will be closed. Okay, so we'll say goodbye. Oscar, we'll see each other in 3 minutes in the same room, and to the audience, see you in 5.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank